Hey Classic Cocktail and Tiki Drink fans, this is Bourbon Bill with Bourbon Bill's Pirate Bar. If this is your first time visiting us, welcome aboard, because here at Bourbon Bill's Pirate Bar, it's not just a drink, it's an adventure. So if you're coming back, hey, we really appreciate you, because now we have over 1,000 subscribers and we really appreciate all the help getting here. Today, we're going to do something a little different than just mixing one of our fantastic cocktails. We're actually going to head over to the kitchen. But before we do that, make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like and share this out to your friends, and so you don't miss all the great content that we upload to our channel here. Now today, we're going to show you our super secret Moonshine Apple Pie recipe. We did this just a little over a year ago, but we did a couple little tweaks to make it even better. This could be possibly the best moonshine apple pie on the planet. But we'll let you be the judge of that, and we'll be right back. Hey, and welcome back. You know, we're back from behind the bar today, and we're in the kitchen. But before we get into this fantastic moonshine apple pie recipe, I want to let you know that we have Wiki Tiki magazine. It is all about tiki culture. Fantastic recipes are in here for you to make at home, and there's great reviews on tiki bars and tiki adjacent businesses. Take a look at the link right down here at the bottom of the screen and get your copy today. We have digital subscriptions and we have print copies coming out. So stay tuned for more on that a little later. All right, let's jump right in. Now, this recipe I've had for about, coming up on about 10 years now. And this past year, I tried something new, and I'm going to share it just with you, my viewers, just to make it really, really fantastic. So this is updated for 2025. So before we get started, we need to go pillage the fridge, and we're going to start off with apple juice, apple cider, cinnamon sticks, allspice, clove, white sugar, light brown sugar, and of course, moonshine. Now, let's talk about the moonshine for just a minute. Now, some of you may have, wink, wink, resources to get your own private moonshine, and that's fantastic. But you want to make sure that it doesn't have too much of a corn taste in it, because we want this to taste like apple pie, not corn on the cob. All right, so today we're going to use a special product. We're going to use the Florida Moonshine White Lightning, which is about 110 proof. You know, it has sufficient kick, and it's pretty mellow in terms of the corn flavor. It definitely comes through if you're just sipping it by itself, but it doesn't overpower anything that you put it in. Oh, but before we get to that, let's take a break for Talk Like a Pirate. We'll be right back.
Hey, mateys, it's time to learn to talk like a pirate.
Hey, on today's segment of Talk Like a Pirate, we want to make sure that you are educated in piratology, if that's a word. Today, Bootleg Minnie is going to talk about the black flag.
Well, do you have a business? Then you have branding. Well, pirates had branding. They did it with their flags. You want to tell us about why they branded with their flags?
They actually put up the black flag. Now, a lot of people don't know. You've heard the term Jolly Roger. Well, that's actually transliterated from French from Gilet Rouge. Originally, the pirate flags were red, which meant no mercy, no quarter, which meant that they attacked you, that was it. Yeah. So the black flags came about, and it was like each captain had their own take on it. Like Blackbeard had an hourglass to say, really, your time is slipping away. And the black flag was really an intimidation tool, because the pirates really didn't want to fight, because that was dangerous. They would rather scare the other ship into submission. Now, she mentioned this future thing called branding. In the 1790s, the golden age of piracy, we don't know what marketing and branding might be except getting branded with the P on your wrist for being a pirate. But we do know that branding comes from hot stamping a barrel of whiskey with the distillery and putting on it that it was bourbon. And that came from Bourbon County in Kentucky. So next time you hear the term branding, that's actually where it came from. That's it for today's Talk Like a Pirate. Now we're back to the show. See, now that's what I call edutainment. And when you watch our show, you learn a little bit about how to make fantastic cocktails and drinks, and you learn a little bit about pirate history too. So, all right, so the first thing we need to do is just add in a lot of apple cider and apple juice. Today we're using Publix brand apple juice, which I happen to like a lot. Mott's is fine, there's other brands out there. I just happen to like the Publix brand. It's inexpensive and it's fairly accessible. And we're gonna just dump that a whole gallon in right now. Now let's talk about how much this actually makes. Okay, so we're gonna have a gallon of the Publix apple juice. Today we're using Red Jacket apple cider because Publix apple cider is out of season right now. So, and we're gonna dump that in, and that's a gallon. So far we're up to 2 gallons. So when we get done with that, we're gonna add in some secret ingredients. Now, just to warn you, don't put in the alcohol yet, and let me explain why. Alcohol will burn off at about somewhere between 176 and 190 degrees, and we don't want that. We want to have that little kick at the end, you know, when we're enjoying sipping around the campfire with our buddies or sharing it around table at gatherings that we might have at our home. So we're going to put in the alcohol later, but for now we need to add in some of these other ingredients. Now we're going to start off with just 1 cup of white granulated sugar, because we do want this to taste like apple pie. And secondly, we're going to add in another cup of light brown sugar, cane sugar in this case. Put that aside. All right, now we're going to add in some cloves. Now cloves are pretty powerful, so you know, really just take a really good handful, just like about that, you know, which ends up being about a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons of cloves, and we'll fish those out a little later, but we'll sprinkle those in. We're going to give it in a good dash of allspice, and you see about how much I'm putting in. Actually, it's about 4 tablespoons. Now, we use Badia products for a number of different reasons. Number one, it's fairly expensive, also, but because it's gluten-free. And Bootleg Mini has to worry about, you know, those kinds of things, so we want to make sure that we take care of the crew here. All right, next, we want to add in, you know, when we talked about how much this actually makes, all right, we're going to be using quart jars. So how many jars to a gallon? 4, right? And we're going to end up making 2.5 gallons. So 4 plus 4 plus 2, which is 10. So we want to end up with a cinnamon stick for each jar at the end. So there's 3, there's 6, and 10. All right, so the reason why we add in the cinnamon sticks is because to give it that wonderful flavor, but when we stick it in the jar, the alcohol will actually preserve it, but maintain that lovely cinnamon, and that cinnamon will continue to seep as that moonshine apple pie settles down in your fridge. And we'll talk about storage in just a little while. All right, so now here comes the secret ingredient. This time we're going to use a whole stick of butter. Yeah, Yeah, we're going Paula Deen right here. So we're going to use a whole stick of butter. In this case, we're using Kerrygold. I like the unsalted, but if you like a little bit of a salty taste to it, go ahead and get the regular salted, or other brands are just fine too. And we're going to throw that bad boy in there. And now you say, well, Wheeler, why are we adding in butter? Well, the reason we add in the butter, it actually adds a little bit of a mouthfeel to it, a little bit of a creamy taste in our apple pie, and it'll keep your friends wondering what it is that's different about yours versus some of those other ones that are out there on the market. So we're going to take that whole stick and just drop that in the mix. And we're going to now turn this up to medium high heat. We want to get this cooking up about, not quite boiling, but pretty close to boiling, just a little over 200. So all those spices will start mulling in together. And while we do that, let's take a break for pirate joke of the day. Well, welcome back to Pirate Joke of the Day, Bootleg Mini. We know you've been on hiatus for a little while, and we're so glad that you're back. Today's joke is a little different. What's the difference between a pirate and a cranberry farmer?
A cranberry farmer?
You give up?
Yes, I sure do.
A pirate buries his treasure, and a cranberry farmer treasures his berries.
Really, bourbonbill? I'll drink to that.
Back to the show. Hey, I just cracked myself up. Hey, now I've got a couple of things we want to talk about once we get all this settled down. We want to bring it up to almost a boil and let it boil for about 10 minutes. Not quite a boil, but pretty close to a boil. And then we want to let it come back down to room temperature on its own. And we do that for two reasons. One, for safe food handling, because we don't want to get anybody burned. We want to make sure if it's room temperature, it'll be fine. And secondly, we want to make sure that it's come down to room temperature so we don't burn off any of the alcohol. Now, like I mentioned before, we're using the Florida Moonshine Company White Lightning. It's our friends over there. They're great people, great product, and it's pretty affordable too. So let's go ahead and get that into the mix. That's one jar. And the second jar, get that in there. And we're going to give that a good stir with my winemaking spoon. Give that mix all up in there. Now, when you're bottling this stuff, there's something you need to be aware of. Since we added in all that butter is going to tend to rise. So we need to make sure that we stir periodically so we don't get an excessive amount of butter in any one given jar. Now, your first jar, you probably will have more butter in it, and when you put it in the fridge, it's probably going to form just a little layer in the fridge, but that's okay. Just give it a good shake, and then when we bottle it, it'll be just fine. Now, let's talk about the jar lids just a little bit. There are two kinds of jar lids. There's the ones that your grandma has used for over 100 years, the two-piece mason jar lids. That's great. And if that's all you can find, that's perfect. The only thing about that is sometimes you gotta like flip them to get them to come off once they've been in the fridge for a little while. I prefer the single piece cap with the white food safety liner in it. It makes a better presentation to give to your friends, and boy, your friends will appreciate getting this as a gift from you, trust me. Now I went ahead and taken the liberty of going ahead and filling my jars, and we still have one little step to put in. Now remember those cinnamon sticks that we put in? Just drop one in each of those jars, and that cinnamon will continue to cure on, and you don't have to worry about preservatives because the alcohol in this will keep that fresh and keep that going for quite a long time, actually. I mean, I don't know the exact length of time that this will keep, but it'll keep in the fridge at least 2 months, but honestly, it's not going to last that long, wink, wink. All right, so let's go ahead and get the rest of these in, and I'm going to start enjoying this with our friends. If you have any suggestions for other drink recipes or any kind of concoctions on this channel, just keep in mind this channel is just as much yours as it is mine. So send in any kind of suggestions that you would like to see if there's something we haven't covered already. Well, that's it for today. I'm going to go and start enjoying this with my friends. Make sure that you put down in the comments what city you're viewing this from, and we want to know any comments and any feedback that you would like to share, anything constructive. Well, that's it for today. This is Bourbon Bill at Bourbon Bill's Pirate Bar. We hope you enjoy this. Let us know how it works out for you, and cheers.